Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Tara Carpenter. I am the implementation manager for the Palace Project app, and we're so glad you've joined us here today to talk about Palace and do a little bit of a deep dive on the app. I'm going to share some slides with the group, and then I'm going to do an app demo. I also have some colleagues here with me today, Jill Scarson and Carissa Egan, and they will be in the chat monitoring, looking for your questions so they can either type to you or if it's something that's more well suited to speaking aloud and talking about together, we'll do that too at the end. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to share my screen and then we'll do our slideshow. All right, I'm sorry, I'm going to move my camera over here so I can see this better. All right, here we go. So we're doing an introduction to the Palace Project app, an overview of Palace, and what makes everything unique here. We're going to talk about the ecosystem and the components, the key facets of Palace, and then we're going to do our app demo. So just a brief overview, if you don't know anything about Palace, the high-level bullet points here. The Palace Project suite of software is the Palace Project mobile app for iOS and Android devices. It is our Palace Collection Manager administrative portal. That's our backend portal where every library will have access to that to see your usage data and to also be able to create custom lists and lanes. We are going to have some upcoming trainings next week on the collection manager. So if you are interested in that, please make sure that you sign up. And we'll share those links for you if you haven't seen them yet. And Jill, who is on the call here, is our expert list and lane creator. And I'll show you in the app how that looks in the app. That's a place you can customize your content to feature, whatever's best for your library. So we'll get into that in a minute. It is the Palace Marketplace, which is our nonprofit marketplace where you can purchase content for your library. Rails is purchasing from the Palace Marketplace, and that's also where the former Boundless content that's moved to Palace, it will be now coming from Palace Marketplace as your distributor. There is the Palace Bookshelf, and that is a very large collection of open content, public domain, open access, open textbooks. There's about 30,000 plus titles there right now, and that's configured for free for every library that signs up in Palace. So it is a huge bolster to your collection, and all of that content is vetted and curated by our curation core of librarians. So people are reviewing it. The reviews are still going on now, but they're looking through that content. So we continue to add to that next year. And then finally, the virtual library card. This is an optional, it's an optional feature for libraries that either are unautomated or if they have an ILS with which we cannot integrate right now. So some of your libraries do have the virtual library card configured. It's a little bit different. Basically, patrons will go ahead and log into the app and make their own card within the app and use that instead of the library having to make the card. So it's very self-serve. And for those of you that have virtual library card that have been configured, I've sent some special instructions along with your launch email. All right, next up. So about Palace. Oh, somebody there. So we have some basic talking points, the really high level bullet points about when you talk about Palace, at the desk or to whomever you may be talking to about it, that these are kind of the big points you can hit for people to help them understand and kind of get it. So first, multiple content sources in one simple app. So you can access more of your library's ebooks and audiobooks in one place. And that kind of refers to how we're an aggregator app. And what that means is we are aggregating content from multiple vendors in one app for your library. So I'll show you in a sec here. We have a slide of all the different services we can integrate for you, but Overdrive, Biblioboard, Palace Marketplace, ProQuest, Cloud Library, the Palace Bookshelf, and a number of others. All of that content can be configured and will appear all, jumbled together, aggregated within your catalog for your patrons. And the purpose here is kind of the dream, right? To simplify the experience for patrons to only need to go to one app to check out content. So, trying to simplify and streamline their experience. Next up, design for discovery. And that means we prioritize available now and relevant titles to increase discovery. So when I'm the person who configures your libraries, and when I do that, I configure them to always surface available now content first. So that means when you're browsing in the app, everything people stumble upon, unless it's been, checked out while they're looking, is available to borrow right now. If they come in and they search for content, a specific title, especially like a bestseller, a brand new title, of course, there probably is a hold list and they can still put it on hold. But as they browse, everything that's being surfaced to them is available right now for checkout. So we hope even if they come in and they look for something that's on hold, they'll still be able to come away today with something to read or listen to right now. Next up, unique content and innovative partnerships. And these provide options for community provided and other library-driven content. That's especially through our BiblioBoard creator and BiblioBoard IP content. And Rails does subscribe to BiblioBoard content. So there is a lot of that unique and local content being included in those collections. And then finally, accessibility and ease of use. I talked about the kind of streamlined design, user-centered, accessibility-focused app. So you'll see in a sec when we go in and we look at the reader, I'll show you some of the accessibility features that will be useful to your patrons. All right. So a little bit more on that, multiple content sources in one simple app. So we aggregate the Palace bookshelf of classics, public domain, and open access materials are out of the box involved and included with every library. And we support supplemental purchases from BiblioBoard, Indie Author Project, and Marketplace. And you can see here on the icons at the bottom of the screen, of the screenshot here, the distributor. Underneath there, you can go ahead and see how there's some different faceting, so you can look by, all of the books from a certain distributor, a certain collection, and availability. Next up, these are the current integrations. So I talked about how we're an aggregator. So we integrate with content from all of these places: Blackstone Unlimited, BookBridge, Cloud Library, Taylor and Francis, Overdrive, Tarosa Open, that's one of the open collections, University of Michigan Press open collection. And for discovery layers, we currently integrate with Aspen Discovery. So if you have Aspen as your discovery layer at your library, we can integrate our content into your catalog. All right, design for discovery. So our default setting showcases available titles. We want to highlight whole collections over hold SKUs. This helps display your backlist selections alongside more recent titles that are available now, and automatically suggests other titles by the same author or in the same series. And you can further increase discovery by integrating your novelist collection. So if you have a subscription to Novelist, we can integrate that for you to show additional, read-alikes at the bottom in the app. Accessibility and ease of use. So streamlined for users of all ages and abilities. Ongoing user experience and design improvements. It's compatible with VoiceOver and TalkBack, screen reader technologies. And like I said, great for first-time app users. So the 5 steps to get started. So this comes from our Getting Started guide, which we've sent a number of these little flyers to the Rails team, and they're going to be mailing them out to your libraries, along with some bookmarks and flyers about, Palace in general. What is it to kind of introduce ourselves to your patrons and staff? But here's kind of the basic steps. And this is for libraries that are integrated with their full ILS. For virtual library card libraries, it's slightly different, and I've sent those flyers to our virtual library card libraries. So just to let you know, it'll look a tiny bit different. So we integrate with your library's ILS for your patron authentication. The patron will log in using their own library barcode and PIN. So they're using their same, barcode and PIN that's on the back of their card they use to check out at the library. And most patrons do not provide us with personally identifying information beyond their barcode. The virtual library card is a little different because we're also going to ask for their email address. We have to do that to verify their card, basically to verify they're a real person. So the steps: download the app. The app is available on iOS and Android phones and tablets right now. We do have a web reader coming in the near future, but today, if you download Palace, you would be accessing either on your phone or tablet. You'll connect and find your library. Basically, you'll download the app, you'll search for your library's name from the list there. You can either type it in or scroll, but I suggest typing because there are many, many libraries in there. It's easier to find it that way. Then you'll go ahead and browse your catalog, and I'll show you how that looks in a sec. Once they first find an item, they'll go ahead and borrow it, and then the user will be prompted to add their barcoded PIN that first time. Once they log in once, if they stay logged in, they'll continue to be logged in. They don't have to log out, but if they do log out, they will need to log back in the next time they use the app. And then they'll read or listen, and they'll do that within the app. So the reader is within the same Palace app, so they would come back to the app to access those materials after they're downloaded. All right, and the device compatibility. So like I mentioned, Apple iOS phones and tablets and Android phones and tablets. iOS, right now they are developing for devices running iOS 16 and higher. And although it will work on older devices, just know that we are developing and they're testing on the newest, versions of iOS. And the same goes for Android. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing this so I can stop sharing my phone. I can start sharing my phone. I'm gonna check if there's any questions so far. No, okay. Okay, thanks everyone. Sorry, bear with me one sec. Share my phone. Okay. Okay, here we go. And Jill, Carissa, can you give me a thumb up or a sign if you see my phone?
You are good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. I always want to make sure so I'm not here, talking to myself over a black screen. All right. So now we're in the Palace app and we're on my iPhone. So I'll show you what that looks like on iPhone here today. So when you search for your library, you will first pull up the home screen, which is like the catalog screen is what it's called. At the very, very top, you'll see your library's name. So in this instance, this library is called Main Street City Library. This is kind of our test instance where we show people about the app. Next to your library's name, there is a version of your logo, and that is persistent and will stay as you scroll. People will still see your library's name there at the top. Next up across is our format bar. So you'll see it says all ebooks and audiobooks. So if you are a particular format lover, if you just read, listen to audiobooks, you just read ebooks, you can select one of those and then that will filter what you see when you are searching and browsing. If you don't care, if you want to see both, you'll just leave it on all. That's how it defaults. So that just means you're seeing both formats in your results here. Next up, as you scroll down, you'll see these kind of horizontal carousels that we call lanes. And this is where you can feature content, customizing it to your library if you so wish. So you can see some examples that Jill has made here, new and noteworthy, tis the season, staff picks, DEIA selections, biblioboard content. So based on your library's needs, if you are celebrating a certain holiday, an event at your library, summer reading, poetry month, or whatever it may be, you can go ahead and use this tool to feature that content to really show your patrons, what is special and what you want to share with them. But you also don't have to do that. That's totally optional. And if you don't have the time or inclination to do that, Jill is going to be curating some custom listen lanes to share out with the group that you can enable if you want to, or, just leave them aside if you don't want to. So again, our training next week on the collection manager, we'll talk more about how to make these if you're interested in that. For now, so if when you first go into your library in the app, it's going to look like this by default. It will have fiction, nonfiction, young adult fiction, nonfiction, children, middle grade, and world languages. Those are the high level lanes or categories that basically are created by metadata that comes from the publisher. So these auto sorted ones, this is all based on the metadata that we receive from the publisher and the distributor. So if you drill down while you're browsing here, say we go into fiction, if you click more, that will then bring up the kind of sublane or subgenre headings and categories. And you continue to drill down. You can go in until there aren't any more sub categories to see, what content is there. But here's some examples. And again, these are all auto-populated, but you can hide them if, say, you don't want, certain ones, and you can also customize. You can add your own versions. So that's what it looks like when you're browsing through. I'll also note for world languages, if you have content in a language other than English in your collection, it will be in the collection. You can search, by author, by title. Also, it will be grouped here by language for browsing. So we find, if people are looking for, just content in Spanish, then this is an easier way to come find and see it all together instead of, needing to search or know a title, name. And then if you have like an extensive list, please send it to us and we can go ahead and curate those lanes for each of the languages. So just a note on that. Next up, I'm going to show you searching now. So at the top right, there is the little magnifying glass. So if you click on that, you can search. And again, we have that kind of streamlined, basic search right now, I would say, as we started really with serving new app users, people new to the digital reading space, and kind of have kept that simplistic style. But we've also heard from our users that, the advanced search is important. People want more faceting, they want more options. So that is being worked on right now by our engineers, but you'll see for now that the search is kind of basic, but you can still look for, title, author, subject. So we're going to go ahead and look for, what will we look for today? Gardening, maybe? I'm a gardener, or try to be a gardener. So you can see here now, these are books that come up in our search results that either have, our subject in the title or in the author's name, or in the subject of the book. So all of the results here, you'll see as you scroll, they are available to borrow, and you know that because it says borrow. So any of these, if you go ahead, you can click on the item record, or you can just click borrow from the screen here. But I'll click in here to show you the item record. So here you see the name of the book and the author. There is the borrow and preview. There's the description here, which you can expand or kind of collapse. Then the information about the book, like the format, the publication date, the publisher, the category, and the distributor. So you can see this one comes from the Palace Marketplace collection. And the good thing is your patrons don't need to know, and they probably do not care where it comes from as long as it's available to borrow. I don't think, really it's just for your staff to know if you're ever trying to figure something out with an error or troubleshooting. Really that's when you would go and look for that distributor info. And if you send us a support ticket with an error on an item, we'll usually ask you for that information just to help us track, which distributor the issue is coming from. All right, so I'm gonna scroll back up. I'll click borrow to check this book out. And then we'll go ahead and let that download. Sorry, my internet might be struggling here. All right, we'll let that download in the background. Once the book downloads, it'll show up over here on your My Books tab. And I already downloaded some of these earlier before we started. And so basically when you come back to read or listen, you'll come to this My Books tab. It is the second from the left on the bottom. You'll notice that some of these books have due dates and some of them don't. So the top one here, Barbacoa, Bamba, and Betrayal, I love the name. This is an audiobook due December 25th, and it's due in 19 days. So that info is listed there for you. You can return it early, or if you don't, it'll just automatically return on the due date. And if you want to listen to this item, you can either click into the item record and click listen, or just click listen right from the screen here. I'll go ahead and pause that. So this is what the audio player looks like. You can see the title at the top. You can scrub through the chapter. If you can see, I'm moving the little red kind of chapter indicator thing at the top there. You can also, play, pause, and then at the bottom, there's that kind of 30-second fast forward and 30-second rewind. On the bottom left, there is the playback speed. It defaults to normal, 1x, but then you can also adjust as needed. Next up, I'm on iPhone, so you can AirPlay. There's also a sleep timer. And then there's also a bookmark. So at the bottom right, if you click the bookmark, you'll see that little indication bookmark was added. Then at the top right, if you go into the table of contents, you can skip through the chapters here. And if you click on bookmarks, this is where all of your bookmarks will be listed. And you can go ahead to them, or you can swipe left to delete, to remove them. All right, and then I'm back to the My Books tab here. So next up in the garden, you can see there is no due date on this in the garden. That's because this is a simultaneous use book. So it's never due, basically. You can read it for as long as you need, but books like this are great for, like a class or a book club when there's a bunch of people who want to read the book at the same time. So if they never have to return it if they don't want to, but basically they'll have to return it. They'll have to take an action to get that off of their screen here. And I'll just read this real quick to show you. This is a PDF book, so it looks a little bit different than the EPUB books, but you just, swipe through if you'd like. There's also the bar at the bottom. You can see where I'm kind of like scrolling through. So if you wanted to fast swipe to find stuff, that's how you do that in the PDF. And then for our EPUB book, I'll go ahead into this one, Pearls and Poison, so you can see what the EPUBs look like. All right. And I'm just going to move forward a little bit to a page we can read. Okay, here we go. So here, there's a few things to note when you're in the EPUB. So if you tap in the middle of the screen, it will pull down our kind of menu at the top with a few accessibility options and also search options. So first, little magnifying glass, if you pop that up, this is your search within the EPUB. So if you type in the word you're looking for, you can highlight all the different, places where this word appears in the book. Next up, there is the table of contents. So again, you can move through the book by selecting different chapters from the table of contents. And also bookmarks are here, same as the audiobooks. So, you can swipe left to remove them, but that's where you will find your bookmarks. And to place a bookmark, of course, on the far right, you just fill in the little bookmark there, and then they'll all show up on our bookmarks tab. And then finally, accessibility. We talked about a few minutes ago about the accessibility features built into the app. And we talked about the voiceover and talkback. So the screen reader accessibility is in place. But also within the reader, you can do things like change the font to serif. Here's sans serif. And then also Open Dyslexic, which looks like this. You can also change the background color. So there's the white background, the kind of sepia tone, and dark mode. And then the two A's, the kind of small a and larger A, this is how you adjust the font size. So you can make it as big or small as you'd like. And then finally, your brightness slider, you can adjust the brightness within the reader. So that is what that looks like here. And again, I'll show you. So now the bookmarks we placed are here. And one more thing, I'll go ahead and show you while we're in here. You can also do highlighting. So if you just select the area and click highlight, you'll see that I'll highlight within the book for you. All right, so that is how that looks here on your My Books tab. If you place an item on hold, it will show up on your reservations tab, and then it will show here. I don't have any left on hold right now, sorry about that. But when books come on hold, you'll need to opt in to notifications if you want notifications. So when you first install the app, it will pop up and ask you, do you want to enable notifications? If you say yes, it will, send a push notification to you when your book's ready. There'll also be a badge in the app at the bottom, like the little red badge icon to tell you something is there. And if you opt out, but then you want to opt in later, you'll just need to go to the settings on your phone, your actual phone settings, into the app settings to go ahead and enable notifications for this app. And then you will start receiving push notifications. Next up, settings. The settings tab, this is the far bottom right tab. And this is the kind of login, sign in, sign out screen. This is where they'll enter their barcode and PIN to go ahead and log in, log out. And then report an issue. If you click that, that will pop up an email to your library. It's going to your support email address first. And that is so you can look to see, is this a library issue or is this an app tech support issue? If it's a library issue, cards expired, something like that, you can go ahead and, resolve it on your end. If not, we have our support email address, which is support@thepalaceproject.org, and we will share that with you. It's in our slides and we have it all over the place, but that's our tech support email. You'll just forward either the patron's email or you can write to us to let us know what's going on. We have a set of questions that we always ask, details about your device, details about the book, the distributor, all that kind of thing to help troubleshoot, whatever may be happening with the app and with the card. So that's what that looks like here. All right, so that was a lot here. I'm going to stop here and talk. Let me check in with Jill and Carissa, and we can check in with the chat. Are there questions? Okay. So I do see some questions. Let me go
Yep.
ahead.
Lots of questions. I think
Oh, yeah.
most of them are not necessarily related to the app, but there is
Oh,
the most recent one, so don't stop sharing your screen. What were the
okay.
accessibility options again? Is this something that the patron needs to enable in order to use?
Okay. Let me show you these for the screen reader. The patron does need to enable that on their device, the TalkBack or VoiceOver, I believe. But let me go back into here, into our EPUB. So if you come into EPUB book, just open whatever random book and you tap in the middle of the screen. The small t, large T menu on iOS. On Android, it's a gear. And I'm sorry, it's different. I know that they, for whatever reasons, there are differences between iOS and Android. So it's slightly different. But you'll click on this to bring down the different options. So across the top, the two A's, basically this one, or this one, this is kind
Okay,
of where you
interesting.
change.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, hold on. This is where you'll change the font type. So you can pick the serif, sans serif, or open dyslexic. Next up, this background color. So background color white, sepia, or dark mode like this. Then the next kind of level, I guess, to this is the small a, large a, and this is where you can increase or decrease the font size. And then there is the brightness slider right there. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, is there anything else, Carissa, that I should cover with this one that I missed?
I don't think so. And I think a lot of the other questions were more general, not specifically app demo related.
Okay. All right. Well, let me go back to the top here and I'll leave my phone sharing for now in case something else comes up. So first question, if I understand correctly, if there's an exact title match for a patron search and the book has a wait list, that title may not show up at the top of the results, but other books without a wait will be at the top. And Carissa had already answered, but I will say it aloud just for our recording's sake. No, the exact match should appear at the very top of the search results. If there are multiple exact matches, the app will prioritize ones that are available before copies that the patron would have put on hold. So basically, because we are an aggregator app, there may be more than one version of the book. So say you come in, you look for The Women, right, by Kristen Hannon. That was one that came up earlier this year where people were buying it from different vendors. And because the different vendors have different licenses, that shows up as different versions of the book. Let's say one version, the Overdrive version, has 100 holds on it, and the Palace Marketplace version has no holds on it. The Palace Marketplace version would show up ahead of the Overdrive version in your search results because there were no holds. But yeah, exactly. If you do an exact search, even if it has holds, it will always show up at the top. Let's see. Next up, I was late to the meeting. Was it discussed how many holds and checkouts patrons have? So, okay, Anna, I may need you. I know we have a 14-day checkout for materials. And
Yes.
oh yeah, is it 5? Sorry, I'll let you take this one.
It is a 14-day checkout for materials. You can have 5 items checked out at a time and 5 items on hold at a time. They are the same settings that we had in Boundless. It's the same for Palace Project.
Thank you, Anna. Had to call in an expert here. All right. Will there be a favorite button or other capability to tag titles to make a list? So right now it is not available in the app. It is, Carissa mentioned, that's on our feature request list for future development. And we have our feedback board where you can upvote that. And hold on, I can put it in the chat here as I'm chit-chatting here. All right, so I put it in the chat, but yeah, people will be able to go ahead and upvote that. And, you know, right now we're quite busy for the rest of this year. Our developers are spoken for just because we're working on all of the transition of Boundless content, of working with K through 12 schools. We're working on a lot of new functionality we haven't had yet. So that's kind of our top priority. But we have heard that this is very important. And, you know, I'm an avid reader. I know that is important to people. It's just that there are so many things we're trying to prioritize what's the most important to do those things first. But it's definitely on our radar. And if you upvote that, I think it can only help help it rise through the ranks. Okay, next up, my device won't update past iOS 15.8. So I don't know, Carissa, do you want to speak to this one?
Yeah, so I mean, the app does not work on anything that is iOS 16, below iOS 16. So apologies there. That we support 2 releases back in time. And so the devices that are in the kind of the 15 range are close to a decade old at this point. And we just don't have the size engineering team, nor do we charge enough for our service to have a large enough engineering team to support releases beyond kind of the last 2. So devices that are, you know, alive in the last decade ish is kind of the general kind of framing there. So apologies. I know it's awful that it's not going to work on your device, but right now that's kind of we're scoping what we can support based on kind of our resourcing available.
Thank you. Next up, will this work with Kindle books at all? Can patrons read these books on a Kindle Paperwhite? No, unfortunately, it does not work on Kindle. Amazon is locked in proprietary system, and we're not able to release apps like we can in the App Store and the Google Play Store. This is really, you know, we would love to. It's just a matter of we're not able to get into that ecosystem right now. If libraries hear, or if Amazon hears from libraries that you want that integration, I think that goes a long way. And that's for any integration that we don't have yet. You know, vendors will tell us over and over, they need to hear it from the libraries that you want that, not that just from another vendor. So unfortunately, if people are Kindle only, and some people are, then Libby is their best bet still, you know. But if they are willing to try on their, iPad or their Android tablet, then, I think that they will find a lot in Palace. And also because Palace is newer, that they may be able to skip the line on a lot of holds. I think we found with other library systems that Anna and Rails are buying a lot of content right now, and that may only be available in Palace, or it may have a much shorter hold list in Palace. So just putting that out there. All right, let's see here. Is there an Android app as well? Yes. So we do have the Android, both iOS and Android phones and tablets. Let's see here. Oh, sorry, maybe I missed this. How are you notified when your hold is available? Is there a way to make lists? So you'll be notified on a push notification, and you have to enable notifications. So either when you sign up in the app, it will pop up and ask you to enable notifications. If you say no, you'll have to go onto your phone, like device, your settings on your phone, then go to apps, and then in the Palace app area, you will enable notifications there. And is there a way to make a list? Right now, there is no way to make a list. That's another thing that is on our feedback board that we've heard that people want that functionality, but it is not currently available. And Accessibility options, we talked about that. Let me know if you need anything more there. For fiction or nonfiction, do we need to add that to the search when we're looking specifically? You don't need to add that to the search. So you can, if you're browsing, like I'll go here in the app. If you're browsing, you can just go into nonfiction and click more, and drill down that way to pick like a certain lane, subgenre that you're interested in. But they can just search by, the subject or the category, or the title or author. Here, let me go in here just to show you. So I picked education. So this is kind of the bottom of that. There's no more subgenres. So now you can just see what's available within education, nonfiction. Oh, and also we talked about at the top here, there's the different faceting, the recently added. You can change that to author or title if you don't want to sort by recently added. And then you can also click on the filter here, and this is where available now you'll see is the default, but you can change that. And then you can also filter by distributor or by collection name. Here, let me put that up. So collection name. So these are all of the collections configured for the library. This is a test library. So you see we have our test collections configured, but for your library, if you expand that, you'll see the different, collections, the Bibliobora, the Palace Marketplace, Palace Bookshelf, or Overdrive, whatever, or Cloud Library that you have configured for your library. Okay. All right, back to this. And let me know if I skipped something, everybody. I'm trying to lose track here. Is Palace compatible with Kindle Fire tablets? No. So once again, we're not in the Kindle ecosystem. So it is a locked proprietary system, and we're not able to add an app to the Kindle Fire. And then someone said, my husband's Kindle Fire tablet can run apps from the Google Play Store. Wouldn't Palace be able to work for him? And Chris had mentioned you likely can sideload it, but we don't formally provide tech support for that. So if you do want to try, you can try sideloading. I know years ago when I worked at public libraries, when we first started helping with Kindle and Kindle Fire, we had like this thing called GetJar we'd have to put on to sideload that way, and it was like very difficult. So we want it to be easy and intuitive for you and for patrons. So I don't want to confuse them with this. If you feel confident, you can test it. But for now, I would say Android and iOS phones and tablets are the best way to go.
We had a question come in, Tara, that's
yes.
directly related to what you were just showing. So that
Yes,
lower
yes, yes.
menu you just had at the bottom,
Yes,
it was
isn't
missed
this-
how you pulled it up.
Okay, so I was drilling down here, browsing. I went into nonfiction. I picked a category, which was education, and I clicked more, but this will be in any of the categories. So at the top, you can see it says education on the left, and on the right, there's two things. There's recently added. If you click on that, those are sorts. So we default to recently added to show you that first. But say you want to always sort by, author or title in your browse results, you can do that.
And you clicked
Okay.
on filter in the top right to get that little pop-up to display.
No, I clicked on recently added here.
Okay.
And then next to that is filter for this one. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I didn't know which one they meant.
Yep. Nope. All good. It's just we can't see where you're clicking. So I was hoping that was helpful to the person who asked. It's
Thank you.
the button, buttons, the text in the kind of top right below Main Street City Library. Yes. Oh, now we can see a pointer.
Can you see? Oh, here. Can you
Yeah.
see my?
Yep,
Oh, okay.
now we can
yeah,
see
right
that.
here.
It's so
I-
impossible on Zoom to know like what of your
Yes.
pointers is just native to your machine
Yes.
versus what we can see. But we can see that thing.
Thank you.
the
Sorry
arrow
about that.
thing.
Okay, so this one is filter, and then I'm doing like this to expand like next to distributor. That brings up that drop down. And then if I collapse that and then I come to this one, then that's a collection name. So if you were, say you were looking for just whatever, Cloud Library books or just Palace books to know, okay, this is only in Palace, you would pick that and then, apply the filter. And then for availability, available now, that one's here. You can see the default is available now, but if you just wanted to see everything, so in your results, you're seeing stuff that's on hold and stuff that's available now when you're browsing, then you can change it to that. And then the other one was recently added. That's this one here. And that was to change the sort by title, author, or recently added.
Can you bring up an EPUB again? We have someone who can't get the menu to display, and I think it's just tapping anywhere in the book, but I want to make sure that that's
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're here in the EPUB, so just tap in the middle of the screen. That should bring down the menu. Are you able to see that? Yeah, it's just a tap. Oh, it looks like, oh, amber. Yeah, so if you tap in the middle, see it'll go up and then just tap once. Hopefully that'll work for you.
if it's a PDF,
If it's a PDF, hold on. Go over here to In the Garden. So here, up at the top, you can search. There is the table of contents here. Oh, accidentally closed it, sorry. There's the bookmark here.
yeah, I'm just wondering if it's not tapping working at all, then it's likely a PDF and not an EPUB.
Yeah, do you know the title of the book? Would you be able to share that? We can try to find it. All right. We'll come back. We'll keep going with the questions here and then we'll come back when you get the title there.
The 117 story treehouse.
Okay. Sorry, I should ask you, for which library?
I think you probably can pull up any Illinois since it's all the shared collection for the most
Good
part.
call.
And then while you do that, Tara, someone asked, how do
Yeah.
we get rid of the red bubble on the home screen next to the app icon? On the app icon, I assume you mean? What does that mean? So usually the little red icon on the actual Palace app, the little red bubble on the Palace app icon on your device is a notification. So if you don't have well, even if you do have push notifications, we have in-app notifications as well. So that's alerting you that you have a book available to download. It's typically when you see the kind of like the little red bubble on the actual Palace app icon. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're referencing.
Okay, so for the 117 story treehouse, there's a hold list, so I can't look at it, but it is an EPUB, so it should show up if you just tap in the middle once. I would say if you can email us support@thepalaceproject.org, we can help take more time to look into that. Hold on, I'll put it here in the chat here. It's probably last one. Okay, sorry. So let me come back up here. I think we're at, will all titles download automatically? Do patrons have the option to only download on Wi-Fi, not using their mobile data? So titles do download automatically, and I think it just defaults to what they're connected to when they download, whether it's you're connected to Wi-Fi at the library or at their house, or if they're out and about, if they don't have like a data plan, they may be switched to their mobile data. So I don't think there's any way we control like which place it downloads from or which source it uses to download. I think it's just wherever their phone's connected to at the time they download. Okay, so we talked about Android. And I'm scrolling down. Can you please demonstrate how to opt in for notifications? I'm in the app, but I can't find it in the settings. And someone said, so you're going to your actual settings on your phone. It's not in the app. Yep, that's correct. So if you don't opt in right when you download the app, you'll need to go into the settings on your phone for the app. Let's see, next up. I'm at Itasca Community Library and I didn't see my library in the list yet. When do you think this will be available for us? So I guess I'm not sure which consortium your group is part of. Oh, Anna may have an answer here.
Yeah, so I looked up Itasca real quick, and right now you're not currently an eRead Illinois member. Itasca is not currently part of the eRead Illinois shared collection. And so right now we are prioritizing adding eRead Illinois libraries to the Palace project. We will be opening Palace up to non-eRead libraries in the new year. And if you would like to join eRead Illinois at that time, we will also be opening up the eRead Illinois join form. We're shooting for February for that, so you're welcome to sign up and join eRead Illinois then.
All right, thank you, Anna. All right. How far back on Android do you go? Phones and tablets running Android 8.0 and up. The contact email at the bottom of the login screen is incorrect for my library. How can we change those settings? Carissa, I put in the chat, please email support@thepalaceproject.org with the correct email address, and we'll update that for you. Next question, what if your library is not loaded yet? It depends. So like Anna mentioned, eRead members are being implemented first. The majority of libraries have been configured now, although I am working through some stragglers today and maybe Monday, depending how long that takes me. So I would say, again, if you have a question about it, please email us at support@thepalaceproject.org. I'll put it here in the chat, and then we can look for more details specifically about your library. We'll just need to know your library's name. Next up, if I understand correctly, is there an exact title? Oh, we already did this one. The exact titles we talked about. How do we get rid of the red bubble on the home screen? We talked about that. The lower menu, we talked about how to pull up the menu from the bottom. And then we were talking about the tapping. Next up, is there a way to use recently added when you search by author, say James Patterson, so we see the newest release at the top? So I believe it should be new. It's newest added, I should say recently added to the collection manager. So it should technically work, but if you go back and buy like backlist, back catalog titles, those will be more recently added than something, brand new that may have been purchased last week. So it just depends, but you can turn that on if you prefer for recently added. You would just go into that same kind of menu. Or if you want that to be the default for your library, let us know and I can go in and change that on the back end. And again, you just email the support@thepalaceproject.org. Okay, and the red bubble. Oh, go ahead.
Tara, I'm just going
Yeah.
to jump in while my
Please.
voice lasts.
Oh, no.
There is some additional search faceting that is coming down the docket. It just kind of got sidelined a little bit as we're doing all this other development work. So I believe the plan is to add some of those additional search facets in when you use the search as opposed to when you're browsing in the app. So if there's something that's not there right now, in terms of searching for the prioritizing most recently added when you're searching for titles by an author. That's something that might be coming down the line.
Thank you. True. Okay, and I'm writing down, Amber, I'm writing down the 117th story Treehouse by Andy Griffith, Three Rivers. Okay, so we'll have to take a little time to dig in and we'll see what's going on with that. Next up, how do we clear red notifications? And Carissa had answered in the app here or in the chat. Open the app and navigate to reservations page. Let's see here. I've been following along in the app and I'm having a difficult time in the EPUB trying to get that settings menu to show up to change font size background. Can you demonstrate this again? I've tried multiple times and that was on an Android, Samsung. I don't know, Carissa, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yep, this is Amber's issue, so we
this
can
is
kind
the
of skip
same one.
over. Yep,
Oh, okay,
yep, yep,
sorry.
yep.
It's tough because
No,
the chat is
everything
like
bouncing around. Yeah, I've been kind of keeping track of what we haven't. Did we talk about the bookmark functionality for EPUBs and audiobooks? Tara, did we get that question yet? Do you have
no.
to mark your place in the book, or does it start off, go to where you left off?
No, so it will start off where you left off, but you can bookmark if there are places you want to go back to, or for whatever reason you just want to have multiple bookmarks if you're drifting off to sleep, or I don't know. I'm not really an audiobook person, but I'm sure for bookmarking. Jill, are there any other times when you're bookmarking? Is it for like research, or when do you use bookmarks?
Very rarely.
Yeah, okay, that's okay.
But I think that the crux of this is that the app should basically hold the placement for
Yeah.
where you last were when you closed the app the last time. So if you're on chapter 3, you stop reading and then you open the app again, it should pick up from chapter 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're,
bookmarks really help if you're syncing across devices. So
yes.
if you're a commuter and you're reading on your phone, but then you come home and read on a tablet, that's where bookmarks really help because it's not going to sync necessarily your reading position without using kind of the bookmarks. And then there's another question here. I know we're getting close to time that I can take. So we're seeing gaps in our collections compared to what we had in Boundless. For example, we don't see Harry Potter anywhere. Where there are licensing changes when the Boundless collection switched. Apologies if you can hear my dogs. Or we'll see these roll out in the collection, fill in the gaps as you can do work in the background. So it's the latter. We are actively continuing to move that collection. Move. I'm going to put move in air quotes because actual documents aren't moving anywhere. So how license transitions work between distributors is that Boundless, Baker and Taylor had relationships and contracts with XYZ publishers, and you have a collection with titles that you've licenses from those publishers. To move that content to Palace, we have to have those same exact relationships with all of those same publishers. And what happens is it's really not a move. It's you flip the switch off in one system, you flip the switch on for the same titles with the same licenses that you purchased in the new system. So in some cases, we don't have all of the same relationships with publishers that Baker and Taylor did. We're actively working to establish those to fill in the gaps. We've moved over what we can so far, and then we'll continue to light up more content that was previously in the Boundless system as we're able to establish those relationships with the publishers, get the sign off, get the same licenses. And it has to be like not just the same book, but the exact same license model. So it's like down to that level of detail. And some of these publishers need letters of approval and they need confirmation that you actually did purchase that content initially. So, I wish it were just like sending PDFs and EPUBs across the wire from like one server to another, but it's contractually and legally much more, I guess, there's a lot more administrative work than you might imagine in doing these transfers. So you're not going to see all the same content on day one, but we are working actively to make sure that as much content transitions over as we can. So great question. Other questions? We've got 5 minutes left. I'll give Tara and Jill a break, who have both been battling sickness this week. Thank you both for sticking it out. Thank you all for attending today's session and the great questions. We've had a few folks have said just email support and we'll follow up from there. We've gotten a lot of requests, so give me some time to get back to you all. It probably won't be today, and I'm planning on not working on the weekend, though I've been taking my laptop to bed until midnight with me every night. So maybe you'll hear from me late an evening. But give us a little grace. We'll get back to you as soon as we can if you're emailing support to get your issues resolved or questions answered. But please do use that support at the palaceproject.org email address.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks for the great questions. Yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll get the recording up on our YouTube and we'll share it out with everyone that registered. Feel free to share. I'm also going to add in, we didn't put them here, but we'll add the slides for the collection manager trainings next week. We'll put them back here at the end. So if you do want to pop in, or if you can't make it, but you do want to hear what we have to say about it, you can register. And again, we'll just email you afterwards. So. All right. You figured out something with your issue. That's great. Excellent. And thank you to everyone. Thank you for attending. Thanks for your patience with us. We're excited and really happy to work with all of you. So yeah, we're really grateful. Thank you. Amber, definitely email us. So we'll work with you directly. So sorry about that, but thank you. All right, everyone. I'll go ahead and I will stop sharing. We'll stop recording and we'll see you next time.